March 17th, 2021. If you'd all stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Before we start, I'd just like to make note that we just received word that Carbon County has moved from our COVID high rating with the state to moderate today. So we're going the right direction. And as a note, there are only 5 counties now that are still in high out of 29. And 6 of the 29 are actually in low now, so this is looking up. Item number 1 tonight is our Super Service Award. Tina Henry, our tourism specialist.
Hello. Okay, I'm just going to go right into reading. We had 8 nominations, so I will just start by saying he gives great tours of the museum and has great knowledge about Harley-Davidson motorcycles. He is such a pleasure to talk with, and you immediately see the passion in everything he does, which makes the experience even that much better. We are so lucky to have Bobby be a part of the Helper community. So March Super Service Award goes to Bobby DeVincent with the Vintage Motor Company. I don't know if Bobby will have much to say. He's a very humble guy. I will tell you guys, when I called to give him the news, he couldn't stop talking about everyone else in Helper. Like, why me? Why not so-and-so? I'm just this simple guy. So he is really just a fun person to be around. So there's that. And you do have a $50 in gift cards that you can use. You bet. Is there anything you want to say?
No, I just definitely have to say thank you so much, and I appreciate it. Out of all these other people, I'm sure are way deserving for this, and it's a great honor to receive something like this because I love Helper, not just Helper, the Price City area. That's where I have to do all my shop for food and banking and everything, so I love this whole area, and anything to do to help promote so this all grows is a great goal, and I'm so honored. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you, Bobby.
Congratulations.
There's a lot of good things happening in the community because of people like you, Bobby, and so thank you and everyone else who is helping visitors enjoy their stay here.
And I will say this too, just I really appreciate the humbleness, the craftsmanship that's been going on up there, and Helper is just amazing. They talk about the artists and the paintings and everything, but if you really pay attention and look at the facilities and the work that goes into that, I'm impressed with just the 2x4s going in and how straight and plumb those are. It's amazing the craftsmanship and the care that goes into it. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Appreciate your being a great advocate for our community. It sure is making a difference. So,
thank you. Item 2 is approval of the March 3rd, 2021 minutes. Do you have any corrections or additions?
I had no changes.
I saw no changes. I'll make a motion to approve.
The motion is
second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Item 3, Commissioner Martinez.
Do we have any swimmers in the room? Maybe a couple swimmers? This is getting to be kind of a customary thing now. This is the 3rd year in a row that the Carbon High girls, ladies swim team has taken the 3A state title. An amazing accomplishment. I think if the girls keep this up, they might have to get a new mascot. And
I know,
maybe
right?
the Carbon Sailfish or something.
Something else.
So,
No, we have multi-athletes, so they're either in softball or track or whatnot, so we got what we could here, and we're grateful for all of them, so.
Yeah, and if I could, I know that the boys did okay as well, right?
Yeah, we
The
went,
girls-
when I started 6 years ago, we were close to the 20th place. We went from, I think it was like 12th to 9th to 5th, so we're moving up. They're doing good.
Yeah, so but we're not here to talk about the boys, so we'll give the girls a little credit. I've got a little bit of information here, and I'm going to kind of go through it and just some of the things that were done. So in the 200 medley relay, consisting of Nicole Swayze, Tyrika Jarmello, Sophia Crompton, and Alyssa Chamberlain, they broke the school record and took the win at 1 minute 49 seconds, .73. Amazing. It's just amazing what the girls are doing. They're not only excelling, but they're breaking their own records.
That record got broken for the first time in, I want to say 30 years, the second or third year when I was assistant coach, and we broke it every year since, but this year they demolished it, so I'm not so sure that's going down again for a while.
That's amazing. And then also in the 100 breast, there was Tyrika Jarmello. She took second. Nicole Swayze took third. And Nicole also broke a school record in the prelims, 1 minute 12.93.
Yeah. So she took that record the first day. The way swim works, you have to go through all your events day one, top 16 come back day two. So Nicole out-touched Tirsa on day one, but Tirsa turned around with the second place, but Nicole still had the record, so
That's
they're pretty
amazing.
good. They're a good competition for each other.
Is it getting boring winning all the time? You
No.
girls getting tired of that?
Nope.
Has any of the girls been there the whole 3 years? And to the state?
Yeah, in fact, Haley, she started with me I got her in as a freshman, or she came as a sophomore. So my first year head coaching, I got her to swim, and she stayed with me this whole time, so.
That's amazing.
Jenna stayed with me from, freshman year on, even when I was assistant coach. Logan started when she was little, so yeah. Peyton's been here little. She started with us this year, so we're growing, definitely growing.
And I see that too. There are 29 other young ladies that didn't go to state but were on that team. So you have over 40
Yeah.
40 plus, 45 members on the team. That's amazing.
That's where our wins come from, is the depth, really. The depth of having enough in those top 16. Like the 50 and the 100 free, we had 4 in each, the top 16. So that's big when you're talking 20 some odd other teams, that we have 4 people in that top 16 slots. So
It's probably hard for practice though, right? When you're all swimming at the same time.
swimming is not fun. These kids swim 5,000 plus yards per day.
Wow.
So that in layman's terms is about 200 lengths of the pool.
Wow.
And looking at a black line is not fun. So we have to kind of make it fun, and a fun environment that makes them want to work hard and do better.
And they probably can't use their phone or their earbuds in the water either.
No,
right?
well, Logan has some kind of song that she uses. I don't know.
Yeah, great. Any of the young ladies want to say anything or
Does want to say anything?
put them on the spot a little bit? No?
No, they're all too shy and embarrassed.
Okay. Well, we really appreciate what you guys have done, young ladies have done. It's amazing to win a state title, but to three-peat is just mind-blowing. So we want to thank you. We want to appreciate you. We've got some certificates, and I'd like to just read everybody's name out, even though they're not here. And if I give you the certificates, we can just go that way if that works.
Perfect.
Okay.
I want to thank my coaching staff. If I didn't have them, I couldn't do this.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of a family affair. My husband, my son, and then we pulled in Lane, which is nice. He's a teacher at the high school. So with the 4 of us, I think we round out a pretty good coaching staff.
Yeah, I think it's working. So you're
I
doing a great
think
job. So let me read these names, and if I butcher your name, I'm sorry. Is it Hadley Bauer, Ada Bradford, Alyssa Chamberlain, Maya Crompton, Sophia Crompton, Lindsay Fawcett, Ellie Hansen, Molly Horsley, Tyrika Jarmello. Is it Genesee?
Yeah, Genesee, yep.
Genesee, Jeffrey, Ember Lyman,
Talon.
Thalen Lyman, Logan Odendahl, Haley Powell, and Nicole Swayze.
Yep, that was our state team, and we have a couple of these guys that weren't on there, but hopefully next year, huh?
So I'm going to come on
Hard
down.
work pays off.
Come on down and give you these certificates. Once you get those
Perfect,
down,
thank you.
Tracy, you maybe want to grab your picture if that's all right. Anything you want to say?
Anyone?
No, here's your chance. Thank you guys, you girls very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank
We'll see
for
you again next
coming
year.
in.
Yeah.
Item 4 on our agenda tonight is consideration and possible approval of a donation to the City of East Carbon Community Days. So we've received a letter from the East Carbon Community Days Committee Chairman, and wondering if we can contribute to Community Days out there. It's a big event for East Carbon. Thoughts?
I don't know that we put it in any of our discussions when we were talking about our budget. Seth, do you remember any, did we see any donation forms?
I don't
Back
think
then?
I don't think we did specifically discuss it. We have contributed it, I believe the last few years, and it comes out of our miscellaneous contributions, which the budget is unchanged from the prior year for that account.
Okay.
Do
We
you
probably have a little.
an amount in mind? That looks like there's 3 different levels of sponsorship.
Do you know what we've done in the past?
I don't know off the top of my head, to be honest with you. I'm not sure. Probably we can look at it and either revisit it if we need to, or whatever you'd like to do.
Yes, come on up. Identify yourself, stranger.
My name is Rita Vigor, spelled V. No, I'm just kidding. Tina was just saying that she thought maybe they could apply for the tax advisory funding. We have the event promotion, that maybe we could have them go through that route too. If you guys don't have it in your budget, maybe we could use it for that, because they do bring in visitors, and we do have some local event promotion capability within that fund, is what she was explaining. It's a separate fund. She knows budget better. Local promotions. I should have had her come up.
So that money would come out of basically like TRT and restaurant tax. It would not come out of the county budget, just to be clear.
But this isn't for the same as the event promotion money.
So it would probably, we have used our local promotions budget line item before, and have bought their banners without them going through the tax advisory event promotion way of doing it. So we do have some local promotion money. And if you guys want to talk about that and not make a decision, and there's not a lot in there, but we can use it for local promotion.
I'm fairly certain in the past we've been a gold sponsor. I can't remember if it was 1,000 or 1,500 that we did, but that's what comes to mind.
I think it's appropriate to help support them. I would be okay with $1,000. And we could look at the event promotions, whether it's there or out of our discretionary funds.
Okay, I'll second that.
So your motion would be
To support in the amount of $1,000.
and to take it out of the TRT if we can. If we can't, we'll take it out of discretionary.
Correct.
Miscellaneous. Okay, so we have a motion and a second. All in favor? Aye. Item 5, discussion and possible ratification and appointment of the Tax Advisory Board Chair and Vice Chair. So Tina, Rita, you want to take that one?
I need to say my name again. Rita Vigor. Carbon County. So we, for the Tax Advisory Committee, we had nomination for the chair and the vice chair. And we just needed to get the approval of the commission to make those appointments. Tina sent out a survey to all of the current board members to nominate and then vote for both positions. Mayor Peterman of Helper, serving as a board member, you know, they own the museum, which is how she is part of our committee, just to clarify that part of it. Was nominated for chair and then voted, she was one of the nominees and then voted in as chair. And then for vice chair, Sherry Neal, owner of Juniper Cafe here in Price, was nominated by a board member and then voted and won the majority for that. And so we just are coming to the commission to basically ask them to approve that nomination and the designation for the year.
I think this is a great opportunity. Mayor Peterman has been chairing unofficially for the start of the year, and I think she's doing a great job. She's really helped look at the bylaws and different things, some other things that we'll look at on our agenda tonight, and it would be my motion that we approve Mayor Peterman being the chair and Sherry Neal being the vice chair of the Tourism Tax Advisory Board.
And I'll second that.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Rita.
Sorry, I said her name wrong.
Item 7 is discussion and possible approval of amendment to the Tourism Tax Advisory Board bylaws. So Lenise, Mayor Peterman now is the chairman.
Yes, sir. So I'm appearing before you as the chair of the Carbon County Tax Advisory Board. And one of the first actions we undertook was reviewing the current bylaws, which had not been updated since 2009. So it was a group effort, Tina, Rita, and Commissioner Hopes and myself. Tina recruited a bunch of bylaws from around different communities. Moab specifically really informed the updates that we made, and we worked together collaboratively and presented that to the board at our last meeting, and they voted to approve that and seek your approval to enact some updated bylaws.
So, sorry to interrupt. This is number 7.
Yeah, I think we jumped one.
Did I jump one?
Just want to clarify. Thanks.
I think we could take care of this one and then go back to number 6.
Thank you for keeping me in line, everybody.
So I don't, did you have an opportunity to review them? I know I sent them for
I got
legal.
them. I haven't had a chance to review them except just now. I know you did send them to me on Saturday, but I haven't dug into them as deep as I could. I do have a few comments. In the purpose section, there's a line in the membership section where it says the purpose of the board shall be to fulfill such functions as are described in Utah Code 1731-8. And I think that sentence ought to be moved up to the purpose section, and that is the only statutory purpose. And the other purposes you have are more or less in line with that, but I think we ought to set forth the actual statutory purpose in section 1 and move that out of section 2. And then you've got in there open meeting training and certification is recommended for each board member. It's actually required because it's a public body, so it has to happen.
Okay.
And then there's a part about the just see here, the tourism specialist, and is that somebody that you designate?
No, that's the tourism specialist, Tina.
Okay, so I think we need to make it clear that, well, it's implied, I think we ought to make it clear that the tourism specialist is, when I read this at first, I thought that the board was reserving the right to to name the tourism specialist. And I know that wasn't your intent. It was just
No.
to say tourism specialist is going to manage the books and keep the records.
Right.
But I think we ought to make it clear that that person is appointed by the county commissioners.
Do we want to delay and just come back at the next meeting?
Yeah, I'd like to make a
revise?
few changes.
Okay.
And they're not big ones. The only other one that I saw that stuck out to me is I don't think the board by itself can indemnify the board of the board cannot, the board doesn't have funds or its own insurance policy with which to indemnify the board members. So
Okay.
the county can do that. The county can enact that policy, but the board itself can't. So just clarify, I'd like to just take a shot at clarifying just a couple of those minor items. Otherwise, I think it's well written and well done, and I apologize that I didn't get to it sooner. I was on my list and I dropped the ball. I'm sorry.
worries.
But I think we're really close with what you've done, so it's really good work.
So, again, it needed a refresh, and I'm happy to delay it and allow the county attorney to review and make the proper tweaks that are needed. It's just moving the board in the right direction, and I'm really trying to broaden their scope and have them embrace the concept of really managing tourism for Carbon County with projects and things that we're doing, instead of just maybe reviewing applications and divvying up money, if that makes sense. So I think we're definitely moving in the right direction. So,
Absolutely.
Absolutely, I'd agree. It moves more in line with the direction that we want to go, so.
okay.
Yes.
So do we want to table this then?
Yeah, and I think we ought to put it back on the next, let's put it on the next, my changes are going to be minor and won't take me too long, so let's put it on the next agenda if we could, and I'm sure I'll be ready by then.
I'll make a motion to table until the next meeting.
And I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Now let's go to item 6. Presentation of Tax Advisory Board recommendations and possible approval of a memorandum of understanding.
Yes, sir. I'd like to let you know the Tax Advisory Board really had a tough job this past March. They entertained a large number of event applications, and not with a whole bunch of funding that we could distribute to the different applicants. They did a great job of resolving it, and to the benefit and to the end where all parties were pleased. So I think they should be commended for that. So to that end, I'm here to present the Tax Advisory Board recommendations for your consideration and possible approval. The total number of applicants presented at our March Tax Advisory Board meeting was 5. The original funding total request was for $24,200. And the event budget remaining for this year is only $7,000. We allocated $12,000 for event support, with the remainder of the funds pointed at tourism infrastructure. We saw that as more important, so be it. And the board did that. So we didn't have a lot of money to hand out. So during the course of active discussions with all of the participants and the applicants, Castle Country Cycling withdrew their application for $1,000. They said they could make their event happen without that funding, and we were very appreciative of that. So they kind of took a step back. And then we had another applicant who reduced their request while we were in discussions, which allowed us to fund it. So the following are the applicants we would like to recommend to the commission to consider for approval. Finish Line Promotions, they conduct a Grand Prix and motocross. They are requesting $500. Central Athletics is hosting a fast pitch softball tournament, and we're requesting $1,000 for their event. Pacific Southwest Regional Boys Baseball Tournament, we have recommended $3,000. And then the Desert Thunder Foundation, $2,500. And we would gracefully ask your approval and, of course, respond to any questions you may have.
I don't have any questions. I was in that meeting and it was a tough decision. I appreciate the board's consideration of all of the events and also the applicants that turned down some of the money so that other applicants, so that other events could happen. Without those funds, they may not have been able to happen.
Yeah, and I appreciate too also the thoroughness of the board and going through and looking and reviewing at every application, but also having a frugal mindset saying that this is what we can do and this is also things that we have to pass on. So if there's no other comment, I'll go ahead and make a motion that we approve the advisory board recommendations and approve the MOUs, the memorandums of understanding.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you for all you're doing. I think we can go to item 8 now. Consideration and possible adoption of ordinance number 544, a change to the Carbon County zoning map from RR1 to R-4-8K on a portion of parcel 2-1088 for Sturgeon Properties. This is on the Fairgrounds Road. The Jones family has a fourplex right below the canal, and they would like to carve that piece of property out of what they own and sell those apartments, which would require an actual change that's been recommended by the Planning and Zoning Commission to move that from RR1 to the R-4-8K. So I couldn't see any problems with it. Todd is here, could answer questions if we have any.
I don't see that there's any issue with that. I would go ahead and make a motion, if there's no further conversation, that we approve the change to the Carbon County zoning map from RR1 to R-4-8K on the portion of the parcel 2-1088 for Sturgeon Properties.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you. Item number 9 is consideration and possible adoption of the 2021 Carbon County Development Code Ordinance number 545. Todd, do you want to come up?
So we do annual updates to the development code for the county, and so this is the annual update. The updates this time are minor, some clarifications, some additional definitions that we have. So there isn't very many changes, just a few we want to update it for 2021.
And I've reviewed those with Todd and with the commission, Planning Commission, and they've recommended that we approve these. So any questions?
Commissioners, this is I know the development code is something that's of interest to the public. Maybe if Todd could just highlight the changes that are substantive as opposed to just, a couple of these are just renumbering some sections that needed to be done. But if there are any substantive changes, maybe Todd could just mention those briefly.
Yeah, let me just pull them up real quick. So there's no changes in section 1, 2, or 3. Section 1 is the title, intent, and purpose. Section 2 is the organization of how the Planning Commission is structured. And section 3 is just the general zoning requirements, and there's no changes in those 3 sections. And section 4 is the zoning regulations that specify all the regulations in all of our zones. So Like we talked about tonight, the zone change, the R4 8000. That zone is a residential zone that allows for a fourplex. So there's a couple of updates in that section. And one of those is just an updated reference that we updated the code last year, and we missed this code that links to referring to a home-based business. We had the wrong code reference, so we just changed it to the link to the home-based business. And then also in another section, we updated in the zone to refer to a conditional use permit and added the proper reference to a conditional use permit in that particular zone. The other update in section 4 was in our commercial wholesale zone. We allowed for agricultural use, but we somehow missed allowing a permitted use for barns and stables. So we allowed for barns and stables in a commercial zone because all the other agricultural uses were allowed in that zone. And then in the commercial 2 zone, we removed the heavy construction company as a permitted use in the commercial 2 zone. Section 5 is our conditional uses, so it goes through all of the conditional uses that an individual will have to apply for. The only updates to that is when we have a large-scale development that comes in the county, we clarified that they would need to have a drainage plan and a grading plan. Our subdivisions require it. Some other developments require it, and we want to clarify that we can make that a requirement in a conditional use. Also, we added in section 5 that if there is oil and gas well in, you have to be 660 feet from a residential dwelling. We have that in other sections of our code, and we just want to put that in there so they're aware of that. And then some formatting changes. We had some bold font in a couple places that we removed. Section 6 is our subdivision regulations that go through all the specifics of our subdivisions. We clarified that building permits won't be issued until all improvements have been installed. So we want the paving done, the drainage done. If curb, gutter, sidewalks are there, we want that installed before we issue a building permit. So we're not fighting the work on that. Change some wording from irrigation ditches to conveyances for a hydrology study. And then we added some development standards for a recreation subdivision, which allows someone to subdivide mountain property and do it in a way that is in large 40-acre parcels, so that if somebody has, a section of land has over 600 acres, they can take a 40-acre chunk, but they don't have to put in a fire hydrant or water lines because it's 40 acres. It's for one cabin site. So we clarified the procedures to do that. Section 7 was no changes. It's our performance guarantee. When someone does a subdivision, they have to bond. There's no changes to that. No changes to Section 8, which allows for the public to initiate an amendment. Section 9, there were several definitions. We clarified what a nuisance is, street classifications, what we call a major street, minor street, a local street. Also a arterial and a minor arterial street. Section 10 and 11, there was no changes. And then we had our engineering, design, and construction standards that we revamped a year ago when we clarified the thickness of the asphalt is 3 inches. We don't give a plus or minus, it's just 3 inches. And that the culvert size requirement is 18 inches. So those are the changes we made to the development code this year. So if there's any questions.
I think just from living here for so many years, I think the code there on the roads is very substantial. That's a good code to have. Commissioner Jensen knows a lot more about it than I do, but I think we all see as we drive around the areas how it's nice to have standards in place, and it's a good adjustment in my opinion.
Thank you.
Yeah, there's been a lot of work by Todd and his staff to tighten up some of the loose things we've had that leaves problems for the county down the road, and hoping that we don't have those problems down the road from here forward. So, okay, well, thank you, Todd. Do you have no questions? We have a motion.
I'll make a motion to adopt ordinance 554, updating the Carbon County Development Code.
Is it
545, sorry.
okay? I second. Threw me for a loop there.
Yeah, sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Todd. Item 10. So we have a little information. Lane Miller, would you come up? So these kind of fall into your assignment. We have had a change in the way that the state Governor's Office of Economic Development funds things in our county. Prior years, it required someone, a business, to fill out an application and send application into the Governor's Office of Economic Development for help with projects that they might have as far as funding goes. And the state changed the way they've are thinking about that now, and they've now sent the money directly to the county and required of us to form a community economic development board that would oversee those funds. So that board has been put in place. Lane is one of the members of that 5-member board, representing one of the municipalities, and was voted in as chairman of the board.
Railroaded, I think is the way you put it.
So we have a really good board, and they meet monthly, and their assignment was to care for that money. So the original amount that the state was going to send was, it was $200,000, wasn't it? Okay. Mm-hmm. And when COVID hit, they got a little spooked and they backed off and only sent $95,000. So that's the money that this board has been charged with figuring out what to do with. And so the idea behind it is to use those dollars for businesses that are expanding or coming to the area, I suppose, that we can help them a little bit to make something work for them. So Lane, with that in mind, we have a couple of applications that were turned in to the board, and I think we have them here in our packet that the board has actually approved funds to go to these businesses. And so why don't you take a minute and tell us where we're headed with these.
Okay. Let me say it's a thrill for me to be here. This is a strange situation for me. I'm usually in a different setting. There are times when I forget that I'm actually a county employee. I work for Carbon County Recreation and have done, I don't know how long time, but I often forget that. So I come as a representative of Price City and also a Carbon County employee, and I'm glad to be here. First application, I should say that we have one business that's in Carbon County and one that's located in Price City. So I think that's a good thing. I don't think it was planned that way, it's just the way it turned out. So TR Electric is one that's located in Carbon County, and they bought a building on Carbon Avenue.
That one's in Price City.
What did I say? Carbon County? Price City, yes. it's just a shell of a building, but they want to move their business there. So they ask for $30,000 to help them do that with the plumbing and the electrical and heating and insulation and everything. And when they apply, they have to tell us what benefit that will be to the local economy. And for them, they want to, and everybody has to report back within a year as to what that did for their business and how that benefited the economy. And they're going to, they'll tell us how many jobs it created, what the change was in personal property tax because of the grant money, and also what the change was in real property tax because of the grant money. And so this isn't just a thing where they come in and apply and we give them the money and they disappear. They actually have to come back and report back. The second one is Intermark Steel, and they asked for $25,000 to help them with what they call a burn table. And I'm certainly not a steel expert, but it's to help them do small jobs. And they have a burn table, but it was old and it's too small, so they asked us to help them obtain a new one. And so we want to award them $25,000, and then their responsibility is to come back in a year and tell us how many jobs were created because of the grant money, what the change was in their personal property tax because of the grant, and also what projects they were able to do that they couldn't do with their old equipment. And we wanted to come by and let you know that we appreciate the county, and I'm not sure if you have to approve what we're doing or not, but at the very least I think you need to know. And so if I were you, I would strongly urge that we come back regularly and report quarterly or whatever it is whatever your desire is. Hold our feet to the fire. We have sometimes I feel out of place on that board because we have a lot of bright economic minds, and my mind is rock art and motorcycles and all that kind of stuff. But so I'm pleased to be there, and I guarantee you we'll take care of it. We'll take care of your money. And I would entertain questions as long as they don't get too deep.
I don't have any questions. I really do appreciate the board, and trust me, you belong on that board. There are some very good people, genuine interest for the community and helping and making it better. So appreciate you taking that responsibility on.
At the very least, I have deep experience from Carbon County, and I'm proud of that.
I don't have any questions either. I'm excited to see some more opportunity for businesses to grow and be more successful. This is great.
Yeah, and I sit on that board with you, and I'm very impressed with those board members and the goal of really trying to make those dollars stretch and have some real benefit to the community. So we have these broken into two different items. So the first one would be a review and possible approval of the Community Economic Development Board funding agreement with TR Electric.
I will make a motion that we approve the Community Economic Development Board funding agreement with TR Electric.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
The next one, item 11, is review and possible approval of Community Economic Development Board funding agreement with Intermark Steel.
I'll make a motion to approve the Community Economic Development funding agreement with Intermark Steel.
And I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you. Before I leave, I should thank Rita for her effort. She does a really nice job. I'm frequently up early in the morning, and sometimes I send out emails and text messages thinking that since I'm up, everybody else should be. And she probably gets things from me and when she really doesn't want to work, but I've never had her tell me to stop.
Thank you again for your help.
Lane.
Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Maybe one note there, the money that the state does send to us comes in July, so right now we're about out of money, but we should, hopefully we'll receive another allotment of money in July.
Okay, very good.
Item 12 is consideration and possible approval of extension of agreement with the ASCAP.
Thanks, Commissioners. This group is often known as ASCAP, and they license music. And so years ago, they hit, I think, every public facility in the United States, and almost all big music stars have licenses with them. And basically, if we pipe any music into the fairgrounds before a rodeo, before any event, if we're playing the radio to entertain a crowd, or we're playing a CD, or we're playing a DVD, and it's music you'd hear on the radio, you can't do that unless you're licensed and authorized to do so by the owners of the copyright. And so almost all big music companies and music professionals have licensed through ASCAP. So in order for us to use recorded music at the event center or anywhere else, if we want to play that music, we have to have a license with ASCAP. And they're kind of national, and you can't get away from them, and they go to every town, every little town all over the country and sign you up. And so we have to be signed up too. So I know we signed an agreement with them probably about 10, 12 years ago, and I don't know how I became the point person on it, but the invoice came directly to me, and so I put it on the agenda for you so that you can approve the ongoing arrangement with them.
Looks like the bill's for $365.50.
Yes, and that's through, I guess that would be through the end of the year. Well, it's just through May, but I think you might also want to make a motion authorizing the clerk's office to just to pay this as it comes in. And I don't know why it came to me and this is the only one I've seen in the last 10 years, and all of a sudden they're asking me why I haven't paid it. So I do remember working on the contract with them 10, 12 years ago, but.
With COVID and everything, have the judges been allowing music being played in the courtrooms, or is that how it came to you? Or?
There's some good songs that get you pumped up for a trial that they ought to really pipe in there. They should do that.
I'm pretty sure that comes out of my budget, so I'm not sure why I didn't get it.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to pay the bill and enter into that. I guess it's just to pay the bill.
I'll make a motion that we approve the extension of the agreement with ASCAP and also allow the clerk's office to pay as the invoice comes in.
I'll second that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 13 is consideration and possible approval of an appointment of J. Mark Humphrey to the Colorado River Authority of Utah Committee. Commission, I think it is. The legislature, in their recent session, passed House Bill 297 that allowed for the creation of a commission to represent Utah in the Colorado River consortium of states. So there's an upper group of states and a lower group of states that use the water in the Colorado River. And so Utah needs to become more involved in that, and they have not been as involved in the past as they should. So they have lined up a committee and designated where these members of the commission would come from. So one member has to come from Carbon and Emery County, and they task the Carbon County Commission and the Emery County Water Conservancy District with making that appointment. So earlier this week, we met with the Emery County Commissioners, the Emery County Water Conservancy District, and some of the water folks from over there, as well as the Carbon County Water Conservancy District. And it was agreed that J. Mark Humphrey, who is from Emery County but has been very involved in water his whole life, be the one that we move forward to be appointed on that commission.
Commissioner Jensen, can you also explain a little bit about the board that Carbon County and Emery County can form that will direct Mr. Humphrey?
Yes. So there's also legislation that allows for communities like ours and Emery County to form a watershed committee that would give direction to these board members. And so both Carbon and Emery counties will form a water conservancy, I can't remember if that's the right name, but a committee that will offer some direction to J. Mark as he goes and represents our two counties in that. So part of why we need to be involved is all the water that comes out of our mountains and passes through here. There's people who own the water rights to the water here, and we just need to make sure that those water rights are protected. And there's also the questions about the Gooseberry Dam project that potentially would happen at some point, and this becomes part of the concerns from our county of the representation there too. So,
thank you.
Any other questions? I'll entertain a motion that we approve J. Mark Humphrey, as well as Emery County, I think, did this last night in their commission meeting, and the Emery County Water Conservancy District will do the same thing next week in their meeting. The Carbon County Water Conservancy District does not meet for a few more weeks, probably a month and a half, so they were going to poll their board members and make sure they were okay with it too.
Okay.
I'll go ahead and make a motion then that we approve the appointment of J. Mark Humphrey to the Colorado River Authority of Utah Committee or Commission?
Commission, I think.
Commission.
Yeah.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Item 14, we do not need to go into closed session. So we don't need a motion or anything on that, Christian?
I move to strike. You want to make a motion to strike that?
I'll make a motion to strike item 14.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Commissioner, before we close out, I noticed we have a guest in the audience. If we could give Mr. Larry Ellerton a minute.
You bet. Come on up.
Put you on the spot there, Larry.
If I can demask myself for a minute, I'll try and talk to you. So, if you can't hear me, maybe you can read my lips. I appreciate the opportunity of actually finally getting back to seeing you folks in person. I missed that, and I'm pleased that you'll give me a few minutes. I can give you a quick update on some of the things that the congressman is doing and answer any easy questions. Hard ones, I'll try and get an answer back to you.
Tell the public which congressman you represent.
Congressman Curtis, John Curtis.
Thank you.
And I guess the first thing is that you're aware that he's going to be coming through here week after next. So I'll give you a disclosure right now. I won't be with him because I'm going to be involved with a Jeep safari in Grand County that whole week. And if any of you want to come and go for a ride with me, just let me know, and any day of the week, I'll be glad to have you with me because I'm going to be alone. My wife isn't going to be with me until Thursday. Friday. But anyway, Couple of things. The congressman has received a new opportunity, a new assignment in the Congress. He was formerly on the Natural Resources Committee. He's been asked to move on to the Energy and Commerce Committee, which is viewed as probably the key committee in Congress. Approximately 2/3 of all the legislation that comes before the Congress goes through that committee. They have a number of subcommittees, of which he has been asked to serve on the health, the environment and climate, and the communications and technology, those 3 subcommittees. Much of the time that he has been able to spend working in the district is now going to be taken up by committee meetings on those issues, but he's very interested in each of those. And some of the things that I'm going to give you an update on will pertain to some of those different committees. So the one thing that I would tell you that you may have some interest in is that he is reintroducing a bipartisan bill to boost funding for recreational trails. The funding that they're asking to be approved is about double what it has been, which would be at least $250 million. Now, this is nationwide, but you may keep your ear to the ground on that one, and if you have interest, as I know you do, in some of those recreational trails, that may be of some assistance to you. This isn't, well, I guess in a way it is. This other bill, another bill that he's introducing, again, a bipartisan bill, you'll find that Congressman Curtis attempts to make peace with people and to try and get a coalition of people as opposed to being one-sided in things. He's very much interested in trying to get across party lines. So anyway, another one he's got here is, and it's called the Adoptee Citizenship Act of 2021. This is a situation where adopted children which come into the United States from other countries would actually have the opportunity of obtaining citizenship as they're adopted into the families and would allow them to get citizenship. That's a short explanation of it. He's working on some transit bills. I understand that transit may be something that we look at and think that's Wasatch Front, but you may be aware that there are discussions within the ALG with some of the communities and looking to get some transit options in the southeast part of the state as well. And so this one has to do with ultimately allowing monies for states for transit systems. And the one thing that they're looking at specifically right now, could be others, is that front runner in the Wasatch Front area there. If I say double tracking, does that make sense to you? You guys are railroaders, you know what that means. Anyway, that would allow trains to not have to wait for one to go one direction before they could go the other direction in a section of track that's only single track. So that would allow the schedule to be improved. And there are other things that bill would allow for. He, and again, a bipartisan bill and it's dealing directly with wildfire caucus. But the essence of the bill is that it would allow flexibility for FEMA to allow dollars to come to local entities in the case of an emergency or disasters much more quickly than they have otherwise. If you've had the blessed opportunity of dealing with FEMA in regard to some of those things, it takes forever to get those funds because you can't you can't fix the problem and then expect to be reimbursed. This gives more flexibility to where you don't have to have everything approved, all of the environmental work and everything done. It can be looked at from a much quicker standpoint and allow those dollars to come to you. Broadband is an issue which deals with the technology side of some of his assignment. He's always been interested in the broadband issues in terms of trying to get broadband into the rural areas so that for education and business purposes. And of course, with COVID and some of the work that's being done at the state level as well has brought front and center the issue of being able to do more work remotely. And there are goals that would provide for the opportunity for the rural areas of the state to, with improved broadband, to get jobs created in those areas rather than in buildings in Salt Lake City. The state, it was announced, this was in a meeting I was involved in with the state a couple weeks ago, announced that they have already decentralized 50 jobs from the state into local areas. The broadband is part of the thing that allows that to happen. And so if there are needs, and I know there are in some places, more so than others, I would add this, though, that you have a pretty good partner just across the street from you in Emory Telecom. They have been pretty good to try and work with communities in the southeastern part of the state to try and expand that. And I compliment them for doing that. And make you be aware that what this does, it allows the permitting on federal lands to be able to be done much more timely so that it's not the arduous process that it has been in order to get those approvals.
I might mention something right here is that you talked about 50 jobs the governor had moved out. 10 of those are slated for Carbon County, and I think the 17th of this month was the closing for those job applications. So that's been going on here.
And I know that I don't have green on, but today is the 17th.
So today's the deadline.
And it's St. Patrick's Day, and nonetheless, so it is imminent in terms of some of that occurring.
Yes.
Yeah. He's interested in fiscal responsibility of the monies that have been approved coming through the COVID relief, CARES Act, and all of those things, and has asked the Inspector General to look into claims that unemployment benefits have been fraudulently applied for and utilized. It's one thing to use it properly, and that's the way it should be used as opposed to fraudulently, and so it's one of his fiscal concerns. He's also interested in continuing to be involved on the federal lands and is in the leadership of the Western Caucus on public lands and will continue to be involved in that. With the ongoing reintroduction of the Red Rock Wilderness Bill that seems to come up every year, Senator Durbin from the East Coast continues to, at the request of SUA, introduce that legislation and has again this year. And so we'll be paying close attention to that, and hopefully we can be more responsible in terms of designating land use. One of the things that he's working on, in fact, today had a meeting with the governor and with the two senators with the Intertribal Coalition relative to Bears Ears to try and work through some of the issues and try and bring resolve to that so that it's not a continual back and forth as the administrations change. And he's very interested and will be very much involved in doing that. And of course, we in that primarily are working with San Juan County And as you know, is this being recorded?
Yes.
I better be careful what I say then, hadn't I? An interesting commission, interesting dynamic in that commission down there right now, but hopefully can come to some agreement that would satisfy the wishes of both sides of that issue. San Rafael continues to be an issue, and I understand that originally there were some feelings as to just exactly what that did or didn't do. I'm a user of the San Rafael. In fact, I had a terrific day down there last Saturday going on Devil's Racetrack. And it's a beautiful area. Again, as I have opportunity to get down there, we do it with the Jeep Club I'm involved in 3 or 4 times a year. If you have any interest in riding along with me, you're more than welcome. Just let me know your interest and I'll let you know when we're coming. And we'll do it. We actually invited Jim Jennings from Emery County, and he brought his vehicle and went with us. You don't need to have a vehicle. I'll share mine with you if you choose and would like to do so. Any questions? Let me just end by saying I appreciate the work that you gentlemen do and the other county employees as you administer, and the mayors in the county, and the task that you undertake to do. I appreciate that and would just compliment you and thank you on your apparent efficiency. Not all counties get along as well as Carbon County does. I will just tell you that. And so you're to be complimented. And I say that recognizing that there are sometimes disagreements, but you agree to disagree on those cases and move forward and work those differences out. So thank you very much, and you're to be complimented. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Larry. Appreciate
We're glad
what
to
you
see
do.
you.
It's good to see you.
Anybody have anything else tonight?
Thank you for that, Commissioner. I'll make a motion that we adjourn.